Welcome back to Boring Gear Reviews. Today we have the amazing Unusual EAS from BlackSkyCraft. Massive thank you to BlackSkyCraft for sponsoring this video. All right, so what we have here is a reverb with modulation, bit crushing, lo-fi aspects, crazy LFO stuff. This is a very famous, very sought after pedal, award-winning pedal, all for very good reason. This will take you anywhere from traditional Lush reverbs all the way to like really chaotic and insanely modulated stuff to like downright like frightening sounding tones. For controls, we have wet, which will control the mix of the reverb itself. It can go 100% wet. We also have decay, which will control like the length or tails of the reverb. And you are able to get a little bit of like feedback and self-oscillation here. Really awesome. Below that, we have dry, which will control the mix of your dry signal. Next up, we have filter, which you can think of as like your EQ or tone shaping knob. This is very useful for not only shaping the reverb itself, but when you use the bit crusher, if you feel that it's too harsh or too like brash, you can roll it back and tame a lot of the high end there as well. On the two knobs to the far right, we have depth and rate, and this will control the depth and rate of the modulation. On the bottom, we have a toggle switch to toggle on or off the bit crusher. Down is off, up is on. To the left and right of that, we have resolution and sample rate, and this will control the resolution and sample rate of the bit crusher while it's on. Next up, we have a three-way toggle titled Mult, and this is our modulation rate multiplier. In the up position, it's just 1 time, so it's whatever you have the rate set at. In the middle position, it's 2 times, and in the bottom position, it's 4 times the rate. So you can really make it go insanely fast or like a more moderate pace. Next up, we have wave, and this will be our waveform selection. So we can select between 1 of 8 waveforms, and actually we have 2 banks toggled by this push button here. So we get a total of 16 different waveforms. The 2 banks will be indicated by either a white or red light, and also it will flash at whatever the tempo you have it set at. True bypass, tap tempo, we have top DC, top jacks. We also have a send and return, so you can insert an effect between the reverb and the bit crusher. For today's demo, I will be using my 2021 Dunable Yeti Custom, and this has Dunable Grizzly pickups that are custom wound to be low output and unpotted. And then from there, we will be running into my Universal Audio Apollo X6, and then into the Softube JMP 2203 amp plugin. All right, for this first clip, we're going to go for a more traditional, super lush, very big reverb sound. So for this example, we're not going to be using the bit crusher, and we will have a very light modulation. So to get that, we're going to have the wet set at 2, decay is at noon, the depth is at 9, we're going to have the dry at 2, the filter is almost off, maybe it's like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then we're going to have the rate at 11, and then like I said, bit crusher will be off, and we're going to have the multiplier in the middle selection, so it's 2 times, and the wave at noon. In the beginning of our chain, we're going to have the A Incorrupta from Moth Electric. If you'd like to see a full demo of the A Incorrupta, click the link right here. And this will just be providing a little bit of grit and push into the reverb. So as I said, super gorgeous, lush reverb sound. It leaves, you want for nothing with this sound. So enjoy.
All right, for this next clip, we're going to start with the Sunbros from BlackSkyCraft. If you'd like to see a full demo of the Sunbros, click the link right here. In the beginning of the clip, we're going to start with the Unusual EAS only. So here we're going to have a super interesting sound. We're going to have a very big modulated reverb with big pitch jumps in modulation. So here we're going to have the wet almost maxed around 430. We're going to have the decay at noon. The depth will be at 2. We're going to have the dry just past noon, the filter around 11, and the rate around 11 as well. We're going to have the multiplier in the all the way up position and the wave in like 10 o'clock. So in the beginning, you're going to hear this super rad like pitch sequencing reverb. It's extremely musical and rhythmic, and I end up playing off of that rhythm, which is so fun. Later, I'm going to engage the Sunbros, and these two pair exceptionally well together. It's not often you're going to pair two reverbs on at the same time. Not that you never do that, but like it's not a super common thing to do. But these two work so well together, and as I understand it, as I've been told, they're like sister pedals, so they work beautifully together. And in this case, I'm going to use the Sunbros, one for its spring reverb, so it adds a totally different texture, but also for its gain. So I'm going to really drive the Unusual EAS from the Sunbros. The sound is crazy cool, super dynamic, really responds like exceptionally well to pick attack and dynamics. So you dig in, it pushes hard and digs in with you. Just like an incredible sound. Enjoy.
All right, in this next clip, we're going to start with the A Incorrupta again, and this is just for a little bit of push and break up into the next pedal, which will be the Unusual EAS. And here we're going to go for like a more lo-fi, super warbly reverb. So we're going to max the wet. We'll have the decay at 1 or 2, the depth at 10. We're going to have the dry and filter at 9 o'clock, and the rate at 2 o'clock as well. Bit crushing will be off. We're going to have the multiplier all the way down, so 4 times, and then the knob for the waveform selection all the way max, so the 8th position. So we start with this really big lo-fi warbly reverb sound. I don't know how you guys feel. Whenever I hear like lo-fi stuff, it brings on like a big kind of swell of nostalgia, and you get that here, but also it's a bit haunting. A little bit later in the clip, I'm going to engage the Sunbros for some real choppy tremolo. Because the EAS is full wet and the Sunbros is allowing the whatever signals going into it to ring out under the tremolo stuff, it makes for a really interesting sound. You get these harsh, distorted chops, and then this pretty clean, haunting reverb under it. It's so rad. It's just like all the texture you can handle. Super rich and exciting and interesting to listen to. Incredibly fun to play. So enjoy. All right, next up, we're going to start with the Smallsound Bigsound Mini. If you'd like to see my demo of the Mini, click the link right here. And that'll take us into the EAS. So here we're going to have a very short reverb. Not only is it going to be very short, it's going to have like maximum modulation. So it's like it's almost like a slap back reverb with a really dynamic kind of warble or vibrato or modulation. To get that, we're going to have the wet at 2, the decay around 8. We're going to max the depth. We'll have the dry at 2, the filter at 2. We're going to max the rate. We're going to have the bit crush on, and then both resolution and sample rate are going to be rolled all the way back. We're going to have the multiplier in the middle and then be at the 1 position of the waveforms. What we're also going to do is throw back the A Incorrupta in the send and return of the EAS. This means all the reverb from the Unusual EAS will be driven with the A Incorrupta. So not only do we get this like super wacky, slap back, modulated, warbly, very short reverb thing, it's distorted. So we have like a very light breakup from our input signal and like a more heavy breakup between the reverb and the bit crusher. And this sound is unlike anything I've ever heard. When I really think about it, pretty much all the sounds you can get with the Unusual EAS aren't things you've heard anywhere else. So when I'm a little busier in my playing, it's just like this great amount of space with grit. And then if I dig in and do like a lot of stopping and starting, you hear this really awesome rhythmic and super complicated and rich modulation. It's so awesome. Enjoy. And lastly, we're going for a very haunting, a bit scary reverb sound. So here we're going to have the wet at like 4 o'clock, the decay at 3, we're going to have the depth at 9, dry is at 2, filters at 4, or 230, I guess. That's nowhere near 4. And then the rate at 10. We are going to engage the bit crusher. Here we're going to have resolution around 2 o'clock and the filter just past 3 o'clock. I will say the range in both of these is pretty wide, so both of these controls are sensitive. We're going to have the multiplier all the way up, so 1 times, and we're going to be in the 8th position of the waveform. Lastly, we're going to have the Chase Bliss Audio Thermae in the send and return of the EAS. This means that we'll have some pitch modulation between the reverb and the bit crusher. So not only does this make for a super fascinating and very haunting reverb sound, but it gives us a lot of rhythmic qualities that we can use in our playing. So one thing I'll point out really quick is the way that the bit crusher is set. It's almost like there's like a droning note, and often drone sounds are like lower or, more bass heavy. But here it's like a screeching sound the whole time. It's like you're dragging, a piece of metal on a piece of steel or something like that. So it's very kind of haunting and more horror based. But it adds like this layer of complexity where it's not interfering with the playing at all. It really is just adding almost like a harmony, but it's made of noise. I love this so much. And the way this and the Thermae interact with each other just makes for a fascinating sound. The way it handles volume swells and light picking or heavy picking, single notes, chords. It's just like, this clip went a little long because I was just having so much fun with it. So I enjoy. And that's a wrap on the BlackSkyCraft Unusual EAS. This thing is tremendous, obviously. Very sought after, sells out very quick. You know, he does very small runs. So if you're subscribed to his Instagram, you'll be notified when that comes up, and hopefully you can snag one. All the hype around this pedal, the fact that it's, you know, won awards and it always sells out immediately is no fluke. It's not hype, it's not gas, it's all legitimate, hard-earned, just amazing work and skill and, frankly, wizardry into this pedal. I'm so glad I finally got the chance to do this demo because this thing is outstanding. I've used it on a live before, but yeah, it's just, you know, a million out of 10 home run, all the stuff. If you dig the content, please consider hitting subscribe, like, share, comment. That stuff helps me out. I truly appreciate it. If you want to learn about anything I've used in today's demo, click the links in the description. You have links to everything I've used as always. And that's that. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, peace.